Hello, fabulous superstar Leo. Welcome to your horoscope for the month of April 2025. I am your astrologer, Nadiya Shah. Thank you for being here. A limited number of consultations are now available with me or my friends, including Andy of Wise Ass Astrology, over on my website. Secure yours now at nadiyashah.com. Links below. Mars retrograde season, in one way or another, has been in full effect, going all the way back to the first days of October. And it was right around the 4th of November that Mars, while in shadow, entered your sign. A couple days into December, went retrograde in your sign. And then about a week into January, left your sign while retrograde. Well, now here we are on the 18th of this month. Mars will re-enter your sign and will stay in shadow right into the very beginning of next month, which means that the larger Mars retrograde season, well, it's almost over. We're not quite there yet, but it is going to be on the 18th as Mars re-enters your sign that Mars will return to where it is that Mars traveled over during those key windows of time when Mars was in your sign as part of this larger season. And a key characteristic of this larger Mars retrograde season has been ongoing oppositions between Mars and Pluto, with Mars in your sign for at least one of those oppositions, which took place back in January. Well, now here we are. The third and final opposition takes place this month on the 26th of this month. And it is with Mars in your sign and Pluto in your opposite sign. And this marks a moment that is, well, stressful. And I'm so sorry to say it does happen. Now, a lot of us are going to be feeling this stress in one way or another. But what I can say is the day before this opposition takes place, we do have a conjunction, rather a triple conjunction of Venus, Saturn, and the North Node. In fact, all month, as Venus slows down, stands still, goes direct on the 12th, will do so mighty close to Saturn and the North Node for that matter. But the day before the opposition, we get this triple conjunction reaching a sort of precision, if you will, which means that whatever's happening now, there is a revealing in it, especially for you, given where the triple conjunction is taking place. Truth is more evident, it's more obvious, and it really is the truth now that opens the pathway to a future of greater blessings, greater love, greater wisdom, even in the midst of all the stress, and even if you can't see it quite yet. But it is the day after this opposition, on the 27th of April, that we are going to have a new moon. And that new moon happens at the top of your sky. And that new moon will be powerfully involved in this opposition, setting up what astrologers call a T-square, a larger configuration of tension. And what that means is, in one way or another, all of us are feeling that tension, but because it's Mars in your sign, and because it's a new moon at the top of your sky, a key and sensitive part of the chart, representing the zenith of the sky, well, it is very likely that this is going to be an important moment for you, a turning point, if you will. It's a recognition of where you have power and where you don't. And it's also a recognition and ownership, if you will, of where it is you've been surrendering power where you no longer need to, where you can claim it, where it is that now you're ready to wield the power that you do have towards the changes that you desire. There's a part of you that, under the light of this new moon energy, is thinking very big picture. You're thinking about the larger consequence of your life. The fact that on the 7th of April, Mercury goes direct, and as I mentioned, Venus as well. Both of them are going direct in a part of the sky for you, and that triple conjunction I mentioned earlier of Saturn, Venus, and the North Node, all of that in a part of the sky that has to do with truth. It has to do with being honest with yourself, even when it's hard, and how the truth really can facilitate profound transformations. But it also has to do with wealth, an awareness and a realization of the resources available to you, whether that's spiritual, emotional, or even financial as well. Well, truth and emotional self-honesty become a key part of what helps to, in some way, reset your compass. It helps you to understand what you're really going for, what a higher, more loving vision for your life might be. And it helps you to feel more connected to a sense of purpose, a sense of destiny for your life. Now, in a more practical sense, there are going to be some Leos who, under the light of the new moon on the 27th, are more focused on career matters. And in that case, all that Mercury, Venus energy helps you to just dig very deep within yourself to find a core of power within so that you can push through towards achieving what it is that matters to you. But outside of that, we've got here important energies that ultimately are a part of opening your spirit, opening your mind, opening your heart to a new understanding of just what that higher, more loving vision for your life might be and what you can do, what actions you can take to align with it. It's part of the consideration. Now, I mention all this like the end of the month before we even talk about the full moon that happens earlier in the month. I mention it because in some way or another, you're going to feel it building, especially once we get to the 18th. It's like all of your energy more and more becomes focused on the fact that we have this opposition coming and looming. You feel it on the surface. It feels almost electric, if you will. But once we get that new moon, you will feel a shift. You will feel a sense of release and relief as well. Now, even after Mars leaves shadow, Mars is going to be in your sign right towards the middle of June. Okay, so you'll still have a little ways to go of Mars in your sign, but at least you will no longer be in the Mars retrograde season after this month is over. The more stressful, the more challenging moment of that larger season, well, we're going to have it this month, and the new moon is going to add emotion into the mix that much more, but it also adds within it vision. It adds within it a sense of direction. And for you in particular, it adds an awareness that you truly do have a whole lot more that you are meant to do in this lifetime. You start to glimpse it and you commit to that vision that much more deeply, but also open yourself to a higher, more loving vision for your life. Well, that makes your actions that much more effective and that much more intelligent as well. So taking a step back, on the 12th of the month, we are going to have this month's full moon, and literally 39 minutes after the full moon perfects, Venus goes direct. I find this remarkable that these energies are happening simultaneously. Full moons bring emotion to the surface. It helps us to acknowledge some truth. Venus going direct, or any retrograde planet going direct, also is part of seeing things as they actually are in one way or another. With Venus, it's about seeing from heart. And in your case, because of where that direct is happening, a deeper truth as well. But the full moon is happening in a part of the sky for you that has to do with communication, conversation, siblings, cousins, and neighbors. Learning is covered here as well. Now, Mars will not be in your sign at that time, but is going to be speaking in tension with this full moon. And so a lot might be stirring within you. It could be that you are finding yourself in certain moments that feel like synchronicity, that stir a lot of emotion that you can't quite put your finger on, that stir an inner restless feeling. But Jupiter is speaking in supreme harmony with this full moon. I love this energy for you, I have to say. It just opens your mind to greater possibility. It infuses optimism. It helps you to see from a place of greater encouragement and insight and understanding. It is this newfound vision that ultimately helps you to express yourself more clearly and to realize how much more there is to learn, to share, to know, to explore, to experience. That ultimately fuels healthy joy. Now, siblings, cousins, neighbors being covered here, well, that does suggest it might be that a situation comes up with one of these people. You might wonder what you can do. You might be scrambling or you might feel powerless, but ultimately the news ends up being very good. There's a healing, protective energy around these particular people in your life at this time. And that can be very encouraging news. Now, where it comes to matters of love, a couple of things to keep in mind here. One is Mercury direct and Venus direct. Where that direct is taking place, in addition to what I mentioned, that part of the sky also has to do with vulnerability, intimacy, and honesty, especially with another. But consider also that opposition happening on the 26th of Mars and Pluto. Pluto is in your opposite sign of partnership. Whatever's happening in love, especially at that time, you might feel in some way powerless over. Like you don't have any control, like you don't have any say. And it really is okay. Whatever it is that it needs to be, an interaction with another person, or maybe something more profound, but it ultimately leads you to the truth of you, who you are, and what you're really wanting. For those of you open to meeting someone new, I do think with a sky like this, there's a desire for real intimacy, for bonding with another person. Considering that Venus and Saturn are so close in the sky throughout this month, a lot of us are going to be playing the long game. I think that's true for you as well. There'll be a desire to pace yourself in some way at this time. But for all that, we also get, of course, that opposition. And it's going to help you to get honest about where you are in love and how you feel about it. What worked in the past, but also to face whether it's disappointment or maybe pent up anger at a past situation. Maybe it's time to just acknowledge it so that you can let it go and move on, so that you're not carrying any resentment anymore, even if it's just for your own good. For those of you just starting to date someone, powerful energies at play here. And in the context of dating, we have here a powerful sense of direction, of insight, of truth, of knowledge. We have for you in particular, you understanding something about this dynamic. Is it repeating a past pattern or not? What's really going on, especially for you? If you feel there's a pathway forward, I think this month is going to get you more deeply honest with yourself about that. And it might even be for some Leo's deal breaker energy, but for others, deeper commitment energy. And for those of you in an established bond, look, the overwhelming majority are going to find yourself more deeply bonded to your partner, more honest with each other, more vulnerable with each other, and that solidifies the bond. Even when it's hard, you're being honest with each other and feeling closer, especially under the opposition energy of the 26th. But for all that, there is going to be a small percent. If you felt for a while you might not be in the right relationship for you, if your partner has made you angry in any way, that anger is going to stir very strongly in the days leading up to the new moon late in the month. It's going to feel very much on the surface, but ultimately it's pointing the way to a deeper truth as part of figuring out what it is you might want to do next. What I love about this month for you, there's so much here. It's a powerful and meaningful astrological moment. I'm going to say Mars gearing up to leave shadow, ending the larger Mars retrograde season. I think you'll be very ready for it. I think it's been a while coming. Be open for it. And it's part of the excitement of this time as well. There is stressful energy. I want to be straightforward with you. Right on the lead up to the 26th, I mean, you'll feel it more and more the later and later we get into the month, but then there is going to be a turning point moment where you found some truth, some insight, some point to what it is that you've been feeling. And from there, you start to feel more steady, more rooted, more strong. You start to understand whom it is you are, what your power is, and where it is that maybe you don't even need to pay attention because you don't have any power. And from there, your actions become much more focused, effective, and really you start to embody the sense of meaningful empowerment you've been looking for all along. Well, thank you so much for watching. You can get a video like this each and every week for each and every sign for as low as just $3 a month with choose your membership rate over at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com, where you get expanded exclusive video scopes each and every week. Higher tiers get you things like all access passes to Synchronicity University events, consultations with me, and so much more. All of this in the Superstar space at NadiyaShahSuperstars.com. Links are in the description below. Thank you again for watching. It'll be a great month. Enjoy.